Hello and welcome back to Perspectives. Today's guest is Chris Modoo. Chris is a freelance menswear consultant offering everything from personal styling to creative direction, merchandising, content creation and much more. Chris has a wealth of knowledge in the classic menswear industry, having co-founded a clothing brand Kit Blake, and was a former creative director for Chester Barrie, a tailoring brand that was situated on Savile Row before its closure. During his tenure, he has styled supermodels, celebrities, presenters, and has a very keen eye when it comes to nailing the basic details. In today's episode, we discuss how to dress up in an ever increasingly more casual society, his golden rules when it comes to getting an outfit right, how you can dress up without looking out of place, and much more. Chris is a phenomenal guy. I actually met him because I spotted his outfit, which was kind of cool. So it was really, really interesting. He's got a lot to offer. He's got some very, very cool style as well. Very classic, obviously based on his background, but he is not a snob about it. It's nice. He offers some actionable, practical advice on people's style. He doesn't force you in any particular direction of what to wear, but just gets you to focus on some golden rules on how to get your outfit right and maybe elevate your look without looking like you have just been thrown into a suit. So, without further ado, Chris Modoo. Perfect. Well, Chris Modoo, welcome to the show. I'm very excited to have you on Perspectives. I know we've been discussing trying to get this date in the diary for a while, so
a few months, yeah.
It's good to finally get you on here. So for anyone who isn't familiar with Mr. Chris Modoo, who are you and what do you do?
I am currently a freelance menswear professional, that's how I describe myself. So I offer all sorts of services around the menswear world and the fashion world and the style world. So I come from a menswear retail background, and I set up my own business in 2017. So it's been going quite a while now. So I was doing the whole working from home thing way before COVID. And I work with various companies in different capacities. So for some companies I do planning, sourcing, merchandising. Other companies I will do some design work. Sometimes I do some content creation. I have private clients who use me as a image consultant, personal wardrobe consultant, stylist, or I do it for brands. So if it's classic, pretty much in the classic menswear world, I sort of offer on a freelance basis all those things. There's probably other things I do as well. It'll probably come out.
So classic menswear, so a lot of tailoring and things like that.
Tailoring based, definitely, yeah. Certainly, I come from, I've worked in and around Savile Row for a large part of my career. So tailoring is always a big part of it. But of course, what comes with tailoring is the knowledge and the etiquette. So it's now applying, some companies want my expertise of tailoring and etiquette, but expanded for the modern world. So I do a lot of things for companies and for individuals on how to navigate modern dress codes.
So I saw you were obviously creative director as well down at Chester Barrie when that was that?
Yes, when Chester Barrie was trading, I did.
When that was a thing, so parents may or some sort of the sort of younger generation may remember seeing it. I think it was in was it M&S that used to stock like Chester Barrie and
no, we
John
had
Lewis
we did
maybe.
We did the fusion line for John Lewis.
John Lewis.
Which I was involved with. More involved with. I designed a collection for John Lewis every season, alongside the main collection, which was sold on Savile Row. So it's sort of like a 3-tier thing. We had like a top line in Savile Row, and then a range for House of Fraser and a range for John Lewis. So that's probably where most people probably knew the Chester Barrie branding from. But I was involved in all three of those.
Yeah.
Sections.
So what would a role like, creative director, you're saying about, you designed sort of stuff, what would a role like that entail in terms of how do you go about designing lines, essentially?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good thing. How do you? I mean, that's always the thing is, how do you design something which is classic? And people often get, well, no, a suit's the suit. You have to sort of know about the different nuances, different fits, different styles, and obviously fabric is hugely important. So yeah, whilst to a lot of people a blue suit is a blue suit, with every brand, certainly every brand I've worked on, would go into the shape of it, the fit of it, how it feels, what the feature is. So yeah, it's very subtle, and seasonal changes don't scream like they do in the fashion world. But you get a strong understanding of tailoring and fit is essential. But then, of course, you have to be a stylist in the sense that as a senior creative, you're putting together a whole collection. So you had to be able to do the shirts, ties, the accessories, the outerwear, bags, wallets, socks, shoes. So yeah, you have to sort of have a working knowledge of a lot of different product categories. And of course, then make sure it all works together and appeals to the same person.
Yeah.
So it has to be right as far as taste, cost, and fits into their lifestyle.
So I've noticed that particularly with your style, you seem to be obviously very, a mix of quite classic stuff, but you tend to put like a little bit of a modern twist on certain elements, and you've got your own personalised twists, such as I think the way you style your cuffs as well. I've never really seen that before. The way you sort of do your cuffs over the jacket, and
that's a menswear. Is it
a menswear thing?
It's a menswear thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's you don't see it in the real world, but in my world, it's like it's a given there.
Cool.
There's certain things we do. And I remember first seeing it, and you put the shirt cuffs over your jacket, and you would do it on a photo shoot, but you wouldn't do it in real life. And then you think, I might do it on holiday, but I find it so comfortable. It just sort of keeps, I just find it comfortable.
Yeah.
If I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt, I invariably roll the sleeves up. And I just find pushing it back here. So yeah, so it's something I do. It's not something I'd recommend. On a personal styling point of view, I always say to people, if you're listening to do it confidently, don't do it. But yeah, I like it. It's a summer look, but it's a nice, cool summer look. Yeah, but that's I guess something you do in menswear.
So you talk about like subtleties there, and that's kind of one of the things. But you talked about personal style there, and I was going to ask about how you might go about starting to find and maybe develop and then start refining your own, personal style. What's the kind of key areas you would normally recommend when someone's looking to develop their style?
I always say your personal style will come through naturally. You don't need to sort of search for it. It comes through. You don't have to sort of, not going to find it one day. This is me. It's about dressing the best version of yourself and dressing better. So it's about having clothes that are good, the quality you like, the best quality you can afford, clothes that fit, and how you wear them and how you put them on. Your style will naturally come with time. So I never say to anybody, we need to find your style. Like you would say, I guess if I've worked with sort of more high media people, sort of in the actors and people in the music industry. Now they're different. They're going to want a style because they need to get there. They need to get there very quickly and have a look and have put up their message. But for real people, it's a very different approach. I just say, no, you don't need to have this strong image straight away because it won't be you. Just concentrate on really. I'm quite boring in my style advice, and people think, oh, they're kind of hoping for like this great little secret I'm going to tell them about how to dress better, and it all comes down to polish your shoes and iron your shirt. I'm sorry, it's like it's like I didn't want that. I wanted something a bit more fun. It was like if I wore pink, I would look amazing, and it's like. Yeah, my pink might suit you, but not as well as a pair of polished shoes. So I'm kind of get your jackets altered. Make sure you're showing enough cuff. Make sure you tie a nice tie knot. Make sure your shoes are polished. Make sure and then once you've got your basics covered, you can discover new tailors. You can discover new brands, and then eventually, how you put that together, the style will come. I never consciously set out to have my look. I just followed the classic look and just picked up on classic quality and then it's just evolved into my look.
Yeah, you find stuff you like and then sort of naturally go down that route, and
you find stuff you like and you buy good quality. You look after your clothes and you keep them for a long time. I'm constantly wearing very old clothes. I mean, I've lost a little bit of weight recently, and some of my later suits are a little bit baggy. So I'm sort of now tempting between, do I take them in or not? I just wait to, am I going to keep this way off? But I found a suit I had made in 1994, so that's 30 years ago. And I found it in the back of my wardrobe. So I've just had it, I'm having it repressed and I'll be wearing it. I think there's a style to wearing older clothes because they become you. Certainly for shoes, good shoes. So the longer you keep something, the longer you wear it, the more it becomes part of you. So I guess that's part of my style and part of my boring style advice.
Well, if it's what they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think it comes down to like people trying to run before they can walk. It almost sounds like when they're trying to do the more flamboyant stuff before they can do the basics. Yeah.
But then, of course, I'd never want to not let a young person indulge fashion because that's what it's about for. I mean, again, I made some mistakes. I made some horrendous mistakes when I was younger, but that's what being young is about, Because I think particularly when you first get into tailoring and you get your first made-to-measure suit, you want to, we see it all the time, you want to tick every box. Because you want all the features on your made-to-measure suit you can't get off the peg. So you want every pocket, every detail. And I did it to a degree when I was younger. And now when I get something made, which is quite rare, I'm so conservative. But I'll be wanting the chest a particular shape, or I want the shoulder a particular line, or I want a particular lapel shape, which looks like any other lapel shape. But for me, I want it to be just that that perfect little notch. So again, you get more subtle as your taste refines. It's refined, and I never want to say don't do it, but I always give them context to my customers and say to them, hey, if you want a brown linen, double-breasted linen suit before your charcoal grey 2-button, go for it. But how often do you want to wear it?
You spoke about you've dressed a few sort of actors and things like that in your time.
Can't say.
NDA. Yeah. Okay. Good. So I've seen.
Oh, have I? Move on. David Gandy won't mind.
I thought you had styled David Gandy.
Yeah, I made actually funny. I made David Gandy a really lovely dark brown double-breasted linen suit in 2016, and every now and again I still see him wear it. It's like, wow. I message him saying,
"Are you still wearing?
Are you still wearing that suit?" And he goes, "Yeah, I love it." I was like, "This is really nice."
It's good to set that example as well of like, I think obviously being the person he is and the stature he is.
Yeah, I've got a lot of respect for him.
It'd probably be quite easy for him to fall into that trap of you just get the next best thing, because he kind of would have access to most things at this point, wouldn't it?
He wouldn't have to wear the same, if he didn't want to, he wouldn't have to wear the same suit twice.
So,
because he'd be given stuff, but that's not his personal style, and he's very, very true to himself. And a lot of, I had the real privilege of working with him when I was at Chester Barrie for making him 2, maybe 3 outfits for different London collections, and it was a real privilege to work with him because he had so much integrity, and he would wear things. He knew what suited him. He's got a very strong idea of what his taste was, and we'd work together and make a lovely suit, and he'd wear it amazingly. So yeah, it was lovely to showcase working with him.
Yeah, that's amazing. He does seem like a real genuine, from what I understand and what I've seen from me to see.
He is a really good, genuine guy, and it's, I have to say again, this is what I found really good about David, is when you see celebrity, I'm used to celebrity, you see like designer collaborations. So you might see a famous designer doing something for a high street brand, and sometimes there's literally just, can we borrow your name for 2 seasons? We'll pay you X amount. I know if I ever see David Gandy's name on something, he's all over it because he just knows he wouldn't put his name to anything unless he actually knows the cut, the fit, and actually has integrity. And it's, really more so than some brands that do collaborations. So no, it's he has a lot of integrity. But I think it works for him because he's well respected.
Yeah, I think I've seen his new Wellwear line as well. It looks really, really nice. The stuff he's producing.
Really nice. Really, I've got a couple of pieces.
Yeah,
which I purchased, and really good stuff.
There's some other figures I don't going to be in one of them, but Andreas Venus, he's I think Swedish guy,
very stylish.
But
never had the opportunity. I met him a few times at London Collections, and he's got such a strong... I mean, I would have loved to have made him a suit when I was at Chester Barrie, because he had such a strong sense of style, and he puts himself together so well. And we were talking... I think he doesn't like that horrible skinny suit, which still out there.
Not quite.
It was the bane of my career for about 5 years. Unfortunately, my time at Chester Barrie was probably the era of the very skinny suit. I was there 2011 to 17. So I loved it. I loved the original slim suits. So Philip Stark was doing some amazing stuff on the slim. So that sort of, he was calling it skinny, but it was skinny for the time. And he had such an amazing eye, and he still has a great eye. Slightly shorter jacket, shorter pocket flaps, just a little bit slimmer in the chest, narrow lapels. It was a really cool sort of Shoreditch kind of cut thing, and then it just went too far, and yeah. And that was unfortunately my time in Savile Row, so it made my stuff look very baggy and old-fashioned, and it wasn't. It was just classic.
I think that's what I like about his style, Andreas's style, because he seems to be able to bridge that gap really nicely between sort of quite classic styles, but he seems to be able to modernize it, and it never looks too dressy or out of place. I think, because I think we're in a... He
always looks very comfortable in his clothes, which I think is key to whoever you are and however you style, is that ability to wear your clothes without being self-conscious. And I always say that about, I think probably 4 or 5 years ago, because I've always wanted to wear a cravat or a neckerchief. Always wanted to. I remember in my early 20s, I finally got the courage to buy one. But I was so self-conscious, I was constantly touching it and playing with it and tucking it in and looking in mirrors, and that just destroys it. And at the same time, so often I see guys, some of my customers or people I work with or people I have worked with, and the first time they wear a pocket square of a suit, they're so soft, they just can't help it. And it's like, put it on, forget about it. As soon as you touch, if you have to touch if you have to touch a cravat more than sort of twice in a day, don't wear one. Just put it on and forget about it. So that's the whole point to it. But if you see someone just sort of a little bit like aware of it, it kills the effect. It has to. If you're wearing something which is slightly out of the ordinary, you just have to act like it's the biggest normal, the most normal thing. And if it isn't, consider not wearing it.
You were mentioning like confidence earlier and how that makes such a big impact on what you're wearing, essentially.
Oh, completely. I mean, I can wear things. I mean, there are not many advantages of getting old, but I think I can wear things more confidently than when I was 25. Again, another thing I love is two-tone shoes. And I had a pair when I was 24, 25. And I think things were different 30 odd years ago. But I felt like the guy in the two-tone shoes. And possibly I was probably a bit too conscious of wearing them, because I felt like I was wearing them. Now if I wear a pair in London, I just wear them as confidently as I was wearing a pair of brown loafers. And I think being older helps, because you look like someone who should be wearing two-tone shoes. Well, so a younger person, it was probably a bit pretentious, I don't know. So there's certain things I can carry off now just because you're older.
Yeah. My introduction to two-tone shoes, I've never owned a pair or really worn a pair.
Do you like them?
I like them. I think there was a professional golfer. He was a Spanish golfer. He's called Miguel Angel Jimenez, and he's this guy I always used to find when I was growing up. I used to think he was the coolest guy. Always walking around with a big cigar hanging out of his mouth around the golf course, and he always used to wear these two-tone shoes.
Fantastic.
Used to think he was like the coolest golfer. I kind of, now that you've said that, it's kind of just made me think of him and sort of, it's interesting that people that kind of have little impacts on your life.
No, sure.
That leads me quite nicely onto my next point, really. I think, obviously, we live now in quite a dressed down world. I think everything's getting very casual now, and even for, I think I was watching a Permanent Style Art interview, and they were talking about that exact question about dressing up in a dressed down world, and they were saying about people have kind of lost their sense of occasion, really. So even now, when you see people going out for dinner, it's very rare you'll see people in you might see a jacket, but it's very rare you'll see a tie or even a pocket square or anything like that.
No, I think that's a real shame. I won't mention the restaurant. It's an amazing restaurant with great food. But me and my wife went. I had a gift voucher for this restaurant. We went there for Sunday lunch, and the restaurant was grand. It was like a New York style dining room with banquette seating and dark wood. And I knew it would be. It was a Sunday lunch, and it was casual. So I was wearing a t-shirt and I was wearing sneakers. So that was love. But I was still wearing tailored trousers and an overshirt, and I felt I was put together quite nicely. And I felt like this is right. This is Sunday lunch. It's relaxed. And I walked into the restaurant, and my eyes went straight to a pair of guy's toenails because he had flip flops on. It just kind of lowered. It kind of took away the occasion because this was a birthday gift and it wasn't a cheap restaurant. And I just feel that had that, Ken, you can't go back in time, but you just think that this could have been a set in Mad Men.
Yeah.
And just imagine if everyone was just dressed like in obviously like the TV show. It would have just added to the glamour to it. It just felt a little bit sad. And I just feel where I think we miss out now is because we're dressing less formally, which is fine. We don't put as much care into the clothes, and I think that was the whole point. I check myself. It's like if I'm wearing a 3-piece suit, I make sure that I'm very well groomed with it. But I just feel that when people dress less formally, they kind of put less emphasis onto it. So I think one of the looks I think is so smart, and my father always does it, and it's such a cool look. If you see somebody in a pair of like washed out jeans, clean washed out jeans, don't start me on that never washing the jeans stuff, because that's just disgusting. And then a pair of like really highly polished brown Chelsea boots. And I just think if I see someone in like a navy crew neck, washed out jeans and some Chelsea boots, or even like a polo shirt, washed out jeans and that's a really beautifully polished, highly polished, I think that combination between like real attention to detail but dressed formally just creates such a lovely impression. And that's all it takes. Just good quality, really nice pair of shoes. And the bad shoes just kills the outfit. And that's what I think we're missing now. Is that how to be dressed up in the dressed down world is polish your shoes, pay attention to the details. Wear a nice colour sock with it. Don't just rely on bad jeans.
I'm very much, I'm into menswear, and I wouldn't say I'm like particularly experienced with it, but I know that I've started to curate a few pieces that I like and some sort of vintage pieces and whatnot. And I think it's a nice thing that I can kind of share with my dad as well, because he's always been a very snappy dresser. He's always had nice clothes, nice jackets and stuff like that. But going into a modern office now, so the past few companies I've worked at, it's very, very casual. So, the place I work now it's very much jeans and a t-shirt. There's, you might get the occasional person that's wearing like, chinos and a shirt, which is kind of like the default of office dress code is jeans and a shirt. But, I've noticed for me, if I wear a jacket or, I've even dared to wear a tie a few times to work.
Yeah.
The people... You get the comments, which is, I think, inevitable when you're looking at the dress down stuff and you start you putting your head above the parapet a little bit with the way you're dressing, so to speak. But I've noticed that I think there's been a bit of an impact on the people around me. I'm not saying I'm a style icon by any means, but
no, sure.
I have noticed that even just with the slightly elevated, I've got a knitted polo on today, just like that versus a t-shirt, for example, or a nice pair of trousers that are well fitted compared to your chinos. I think it does just elevate you a little bit. Completely. And it's not to say I'm better than you, and which I think it does get misconstrued as, and I think there's a fine line between being pompous with it and overzealous with how you dress versus, just kind of enjoying your clothes and being a bit more. But I've certainly noticed that if I spend enough time with a sort of slightly elevated sense, or I start wearing a jacket more, I have noticed, it might be my vivid imagination, but I feel like other people around me do start to sort of up their game a little bit as well.
Yeah, no, I can see that. No, I've noticed that. I've had Yeah, I have noticed that too. That things that you wear, yeah, it does have an impact. Yeah, but no, I think the modern office look is. I remember starting work in the late 80s, and the train was just full of people smartly dressed to work, and that was the norm. Now, I could be the only guy on a tie on a train at sort of 8 o'clock from the suburbs, and it's the modern corporate uniform is a quarter zip gilet, chinos, bad shoes, and a rucksack.
Yeah.
These rucksacks. I mean, what are people taking to work these days? I mean, it's not a sort of the city of London used to be quite a glamorous place. It had a real feel to it. You go into the city and it felt exciting. It felt different to the West End of London. Now it just, I don't know. It's not the same.
I noticed it when I went to Milan. I went to Milan for a business trip. I was only there maybe a couple of days, but just noticed it was stark contrast to anywhere else sort of I'd been in terms of sort of going office related stuff, professional capacity.
Yeah.
We always said that the Italians are, quite snappy dresses and things like that, but it really did surprise me just how well everyone was put together, and it wasn't.
It must be quite conservative.
Yeah. Very flattering, I think, in the way they dress. So, just clothes fitting well, trousers flattering their shape, and the odd, and even the women were wearing tailoring as well. There was, someone who I was meeting with and actually said so. She had a lovely, it was a chalk stripe, grey flannel sort of suit with some sort of wider leg trousers, but the jacket was sort of cut off at the sleeve, so it was almost like a vest, but it had nice sort of peak lapels, and I just thought she looks, really, really good. It was just such a well put together, very, quite a powerful outfit, so to speak. So yeah, it was just nice. It was quite refreshing actually. It kind of restored my faith a little bit.
No, it is. I mean, I don't go to Milan as often as I used to, but everyone is well put together, and everyone looks considered.
You use that term a lot, actually. I've noticed in what you
considered
in some of your content and stuff like that you do. Considered. What does that what does that mean to you in terms of your? What do you mean?
I just like my sweet spot in style, and whether it's a brand I'm working for, I'm designing for, whether it's a individual consultation, is I think if I dress somebody or put an outfit together, I always want it to be anonymous. So you can walk along and people that aren't into clothes think, okay, it's a guy in a blue suit, didn't look at him twice. But if you like clothes, you'll notice the detail. You'll notice the rope shoulder. You'll notice the shape of the lapel. Maybe it's a peak lapel. Maybe it's an unexpected peak lapel. Maybe he's got a slightly longer pocket flap. And those are the details. Maybe it's a turn back cuff on the sleeve. So you would say that most people would just see, oh, there's a bloke in the suit. Don't look at you twice. But people that like clothes, and I think that to me is my absolute sweet spot. So the average person go, he looks well put together. He looks smart. Can't tell you what, I can't tell you those details, but he just has an overall effect. So that to me is what I refer to as considered, and that's what I try and convey in every outlet I work in, rather than a very attention-grabbing tie.
Yeah, and I think that's how we met, isn't it? I spotted you.
I was wearing an attention-grabbing tie.
No. The considered.
Had my piano keys on.
Yeah. No, it was an event where I kind of.
Oh, it was. It was at the Concourse of Elegance.
Yeah, so it was a bit of a. Yeah. I kind of did a bit of a double take. I was like, that guy looks really cool. That's not to blow smoke up your backside or anything.
No, keep going, mate. I take
it. But yeah, I saw. You had two toe loafers on, a nice pair of obviously trousers, and it was I think it was a linen shirt and the cravat. Yeah, the cravat.
Yeah, that sounds kind of like a summer outfit. Yeah.
I just thought, this car looks really cool, and obviously being someone who is kind of into clothes and things like that, and I like sort of seeing stuff that's a bit different and as you say, well put together. Yeah, I kind of was like, go speak to this guy, see what he's doing.
Yeah, I remember. But for me, that's very comfortable because it's, because I just want to be comfortable. Well, I'm wearing loafers. I find a lightweight, fuller cut trouser more comfortable than heavy jean on a hot day. And, probably a polo shirt and a neckerchief would be my thing. And maybe I've got quite a few overshirts to give me, I like pockets as well. That's the other thing is tailoring gives you pockets. So you've got a place for your wallet, your keys, and not having to carry stuff. I think that's a more elegant way of presenting yourself than having to have bags all the time and rucksacks.
I think that's the idea of comfort is quite an important point there, because I feel like a lot of people, when I get certain comments, it is related to, that looks really, is that not comfortable, or, why are you wearing that? And it's more of you don't realise actually when you have, I bought a nice jacket. I actually bought it second hand, but it was a purple label Ralph Lauren cashmere jacket. Got it for an absolute steal. So I'm not sort of,
the list price on that would be eyeballs for him.
Yeah, I got it for very, very much under that.
I bet.
But it's just every time I put it on, it just feels so comfortable. It's just like silk. It's got silk lining. It's very comfortable. You got freedom of movement and things like that.
No, sure. No. You can be be elegant and comfortable. It's not mutually exclusive. Yeah. So yeah. Exactly. And then having said that, and this is why I do sound a bit pompous, but I'm going to say it anyway, is that true comfort is looking great. I mean, it's being comfortable in yourself. And if you look at your best, if I feel I look my best, that's a real sense of comfort, more than, say, having baggy tracksuit bottoms on. So everyone's comfort is, well, what do you really mean by comfort?
Yeah.
Walking into a room knowing you look your best gives me a sense of comfort, rather than wearing slippers or tracksuit bottoms, or baggy soft clothes.
I love the feeling it gives me when I put on something. Yeah. I think the idea of comfort and confidence as well. I immediately get a confidence boost when I wear something that's a little bit nicer. I know the quality's good. They paid a little bit of money for it and things like that. And that's not to say you have to go and spend, £5,000 on a bespoke pair of shoes and then another pair of jacket or whatever.
No, and that's the whole point as well. Is I'm very much a big advocate. I mean, I don't know if you've seen them, but I do some videos for Rampley & Co. Style advice and general things. And I don't think it's come out yet. But I'm not involved in their design process. They're just using me for content creation for the brand. And a lot of the time they'll say, can you talk about matching and can you talk about how to dress? And now they're saying, anything you want to talk about. No, use this as your platform, which is really kind of them, and it works well. And I did one about, dressing well can seem, if you want to dress well and funds are limited, it can seem daunting and just a world for somebody else. So I just talked about, these are the things you can do that don't cost so much money but make a significant amount of difference.
What would they be?
And I think that I've watched the video.
Wow. Plug.
Look, I'm going back to shoes. Whether you've got a pair of high street black Oxfords or a pair of bespoke from Gaziano and Girling, the ones, if one's dirty and one's polished, the polished ones will look better. So again, it's just be more resourceful. So if you can put effort in,
come back to doing the basics.
That's the thing. So if you want to dress better, you want to put effort in. Yeah. And like you say, you've picked up your Ralph Lauren purple for a still, and then you just you buy better, you buy considered, and you look after. And my thing is just look after what you have. So I'm now wearing my own vintage because I'm wearing suits from 30 years ago. Or I will be wearing suits from 30 years ago. I'm just seeing how it comes out the press. And the jacket fits okay. I haven't tried the trousers yet.
I've a few more park runs in.
That might need to be let out a bit. Maybe a few more park runs. Yeah.
I've got some ties that my dad gave me, and I literally raided his tie rack. I don't wear ties very often. I know there are a couple of people who are in menswear. I think Rakesh.
He's a big tie fan. Yeah,
he's a big tie fan. Very cool sense of style. For some, it may be a bit over the top, but for others, it could be a bit.
He's true to himself. That's again. I think I've known him for a few years. and I've seen his style develop. It's never been contrived. It's always felt like, if you look at how he dresses now to somebody came from memory when I first met him 2018, 2019, and he looks quite different. But never along that time did I think, wow, this is new Rakesh.
Yeah.
It's been very natural to him and very true to himself. So there.
Are there any like common mistakes that you see people making with style?
Common mistakes, some mistakes. Big ones are not having something altered. Just having thinking the expensive suit will allow for buying an expensive suit but not spending another 100 quid to get it altered. Is the classic one. I think spending too much on one garment in the outfit, thinking it compensates, and it doesn't always, rarely compensates. Poor grooming. I think men need to. I mean, I've never lived in this. I can't believe that there are so many barbers now. I mean, if someone go, every shop opens up as a barber, and they're quite good value. I mean, you can get 30 years ago, to get a wet shave, you had to go to St James's. Now I can get a wet shave in any high street in England. It's amazing. Yeah, why are we so poorly? I look at men, I think they're so poorly groomed, thinking we've got access to all these things. And it's just a case of not paying attention to the person grooming when it's available quite reasonably. You don't have to go to a fancy St James's place, although I do like a fancy St James's place. Yeah, so it's just it's those sort of details, and understanding that dressing down isn't dressing scruffy.
I think they did an article on the permanent style one that Simon Crompton did, and it was quite handy for me actually. It was the sliding scale of formality, he called it.
Oh,
so essentially how you can just take a real dressed up outfit, like let's say you've got a three-piece suit on, and then you can take it one step down by removing the waistcoat, for example, and then the tie will come off, and then so you've just got that, and then maybe you can substitute
the suit without the tie thing is just... I mean, I remember late 90s Savile Row. I was a salesman and my colleague was young. We'll say young, we're all young, in our 20s. But he was quite slim, and we were wearing our slim fit suits, and we were wearing high collared shirts, and he used to not wear a tie. And to be a salesman on Savile Row in the 90s without a tie was kind of a statement of like, no, we're cool tailors here. We don't wear ties all the time. And it was quite subversive. Up until sort of the early 2000s, I was wearing like my tailored blue suit and a white shirt, 2-button collar. And then the Tom Ford did it really well. If it looks good, it looks amazing. But it's such a default setting for so many blokes now, and it looks shit because it's really hard to get the collar right, to look like you're doing this because it doesn't look considered. It looks lazy. And I think most men would look so much smarter to put a tie on. I mean, I'll be honest, the reason I'm so into ties and neckerchiefs is as you get older, your neck doesn't look any smarter. Your neck starts getting a bit baggy and a bit wrinkly. It's more flattering. So that's why I love a roll neck in the winter, and I love wearing a cravat or a neckerchief, or I like wearing a tie because it flatters me. Yeah, I just think that sort of the bad blue, the open neck shirt thing with a suit is not cool anymore. It was cool 25 years ago, and and Tom Ford carried it off, but it's a really hard look to carry off well. It's a bit daytime TV presenter now.
Yeah, I see it. Tom Ford, he likes the black suits as well, which also I think quite hard to... You can wear whatever you want.
And I think, I need black suits. I mean, it's one of those things that I guess it's very difficult being writing style. I don't do so much. I used to write a lot of style advice for magazines. And there's certain things you kind of get across. And once it hits the mainstream, you kind of change your mind, which I know is wrong. But it's like, never wear a black suit. When the black suit was massive, not having a black suit was a statement. And I've never owned a black suit. But I'm tempted now, the right black suit, just because I like to not follow my own advice. It's like I never wear a Windsor knot. Occasionally I just think, I want to wear a Windsor knot just to annoy people. I actually wore matching tie and hanky once, just to confuse people.
Really upset the
after saying don't do it, then do it. Yeah, upset. Yeah, just to get a get some comments on Instagram.
That's awesome. So you've given us some sort of common mistakes, and I think that there's kind of some golden rules there as well. I was going to ask about, do you have any, on the flip side, the golden rules when it comes to style? But it sounds like, the polishing the shoes and just groom yourself well.
Boring.
Yeah. Well, it's just, I wouldn't say it's boring. I'd say it's just getting the basics right, which I think in a lot of fields people do. They try and step over pounds to pick up pennies, so to speak.
Well, no, sure. But I mean, okay, I think I noticed myself doing this. I'm in my 20s and I was a salesman on Jermyn Street. And you would, and obviously when you're a salesman, if you work in the shirt shop, you do a lot of shirt and tie combinations, which was a massive thing. I mean, nowadays, I bet you don't get to do it so much, but everyone, in 1996, if you bought a shirt, you invariably bought a tie with it. And if a guy went through the till, bought 3 shirts without a tie, and the manager would be like, I don't know. It was just, of course you want a tie with it. So you're always looking for interesting combinations and how to match your shirt and tie. And if I saw somebody in the street with a really an unusual shirt and tie combination, I'd immediately look at their feet and think, is it considered or is it? And I never knew I did it, but I remember picking myself up doing it once. So I'd look at the shirt and tie and go, "Oh, that's unusual. That's a weird colour combination, or that's a funny pattern, or that's a weird collar shape." And I'd look down to their feet, and if they'd had a pair of nicely polished, good shoes on, I'd think, "Oh, okay, that's he meant to do that." And if they're bad, I thought that's just a mistake, and it was just something you do. You see something, go, not too sure if that's good or not, and then I think, yeah, that was so. You sort of carry it off. So yeah, it's boring stuff. It's getting things altered. It's getting things repaired. It's maintenance.
Yeah. Look after your clothes, and they'll look after you for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, I've got more clothes than I need, but I look after them, and like I said, I'm wearing a suit from, hopefully, if the trousers haven't shrunk too much, I'll be wearing a suit from, which is 30 years old soon.
Excellent.
Which was made for me.
Yeah. I like the idea of having something, and it develops a bit of character over time as well, especially with shoes.
Completely. No, definitely.
Their own sort of patina, and you just get them restyled.
Shoes, how you polish them, but even other items of clothing, how you break in an old cotton jacket, for example, or a blazer, it becomes yours.
I think it's interesting how now we don't hesitate to spend like £1,000 on a phone every year for the new one to come out, but people don't want to spend £500 on a pair of shoes that's going to last you like 40 years.
Yeah, well, 40 is pushing it, but yeah, but no,
at least we're looking at 10, 15, 20 years if you're looking after them.
I think the last time I did a study on it with the brands, we got some intelligence, sort of market intelligence, and clothing is a much less of a priority than it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago. When I used to work in a city shirt shop, when bonuses came out, and I did a really interesting feature with Thomas Pink, looking at old Thomas Pink customers from the 80s and 90s and recollaring shirts. It was a really fun thing about 3 or 4 years ago. I was chatting to a bloke who was a trader in the 90s, and he wore Thomas Pink shirts. And when he got his bonus, he bought 10 shirts and 2 suits. Now, I just think that was like his thing. I'm going to get myself a Prince of Wales check suit and like half a dozen German street shirts. And I'm thinking, the young guy now, he was 23, 24. I think if a 23, 24 got a nice bonus, it's not going to go on his wardrobe. It'll go on holidays, property, watches. I don't think many are buying a pair of Ripple green shoes. And that's just the world we live in.
Yeah. Well, Chris, thank you so much. If people want to follow your work, or perhaps get a bit more insight into the world of Chris Modoo, have you got any platforms that you'd recommend visiting?
Instagram is my platform, so at Chris Modoo, and then you can always DM me if you're interested in private consultations, or you have a brand. Just DM me through that, and we can talk. Amazing. All right, I'll put that link in the bio of the or the description, so to speak, of the episode. Thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed the conversation and the tips, and there's certainly ones that have given me a bit more
bit more confidence to carry on wearing what I want to wear, because I think it gives you a bit of, when you do get a few comments, people are always questioning what you're wearing, or like why you're dressed up, so to speak. It can get a bit tiring after, and sometimes you just want to blend in with the norm. But one life, so might as well push yourself.
Do it. Exactly.
Right. Thanks very much.
Great talking to you. Thanks very much.